cycles where they normally, habitate at. I think it's affecting wildlife. It's affecting everything, what's going on with this magnetic field changing. And they're saying that the iron core of the planet is kind of like moves, and that's what they say now. That's why our Earth is kind of shifting and the magnetic field is shifting. I don't know. All I can say is the Hopi Indians were right. The elders. I mean, something is going on.
Yeah, they talk about the appearance of the blue Kachina, I believe, blue and red Kachina stars, I believe. And I think the red one, of course, probably is a reference to Nibiru. I don't know, the red dwarf star that comes. But it's kind of funny how the Hopi Indian prophecy that I've listened to or read kind of correlates with what's been going on in the last 200 or 300 years. They talked about the snakes that cross the country, which is kind of, I think they referred to it like that as the rail that went across, the original railroad that was crisscrossed the east and west coast. So there's actually some symbolic references to the changes that had taken place, not only to that, but also to society itself. And you kind of wondering where they got their information from. I've always felt that the Hopi and the other Indian tribes actually do have a tie-in with ETs that have probably furnished this information to them.
I think at one time they were. I think they were learned from ETs. I again, talking about ETs and portals and UFO sightings, normally in September, the UFO sightings kind of like dropped drastically, but it hasn't happened yet.
Oh, September's supposed to be a lull month where they don't appear as much?
In September, October, November, December, it kind of like dries up quite a bit, but it hasn't. The reports are still coming in everywhere. People are reporting UFOs and sightings on a regular basis everywhere.
Sounds like it's going to lead up to something. I talk about activity up in my area. It seems like it peaks around September and October. That's when really strange things happen in my research area. And I noticed that from year to year that's where the height of those things would take place. So I don't know if it's like that everywhere, but I do think it's very seasonal. It depends on, it could be something to do with the Earth, its alignment with the stars and planets and everything else that cause greater activity,
I think so. I got to ask you this question, too, because we only got like 15 minutes left. Little people that you've gotten pictures of and seen, are they still in the area, or have they kind of like vanished? I'm curious to ask you that.
Well, they're still there. I haven't been out as much this year. It's been, because I've been really super busy with everything else. So I really haven't been out in the woods as much as I'd like to. But I will tell you that I noticed that I was gathering pictures of them. They would show up like on the 12th of August, for instance. Then I'd find, and it's not that I just went out on the 12th of the month to take pictures. I take pictures all through the month. But I'd noticed that they'd show up on the 12th of August. Then the next one was the 12th of September. Then the next one was around the 12th of October. See a pattern? So as the time of month they're showing up in the pictures. I think they're always there, but I think their visibility in the physical world takes place on a very secular fashion. So, on a month-to-month cycle at a certain time of the month or day. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting stuff. And you know what? The more I'm learning, the less I know, and I'm trying to figure it all out. But there's just so much to try to figure out.
Now, where you've seen these little people, how far away has it been from where you think there's portals at?
It's right smack in the area where I saw the light beam portal and orb. Midday.
I'm just wondering if they're, coming and visiting through, the portal. And basically, maybe not living here, in the forest, but they come and, do what they're doing for some reason, and then they go back through the portal.
Well, I'm kind of coming to that conclusion a little bit with some of this activity. Just where do they go? Where do they? It's like we had the case of my friend who her first sighting was seeing this, what she thought was, she was out in the woods and saw a bunch of elk running, and then saw what looked like a mountain ape at first. She says, "What's a mountain ape running around in the Pacific Northwest?" Before she figured out it was a Bigfoot. This Bigfoot's running down chasing the elk, and all of a sudden gets to it. She's watching it. He's moving really fast at a high rate of speed, gets to this tree, and disappears out the other side. In other words, walks past the tree, runs past the tree, and doesn't come out the other side at full speed ahead. So what did he go to another? Did he just simply vanish into a portal? Did he just, or a cloak, or who knows?
That is interesting. That's the whole thing. If people are out in the woods, or it's not even associated with the woods. I mean, you could be driving your car right on I-5 up here in the Seattle or Portland, Tacoma area, right, or California area on I-5, right, and all of a sudden a portal could appear and you're just gone.
Well, there's one other theory, and it's a frightening theory that I have, and others have speculated about that what if these beings, whoever they are, have the ability to step in between time and do things and then step back out? And as far as you're concerned, it was, a moment that passed by. So, like, if these beings, are running, they start running, and they're running past a tree, they just stop time, and they keep going in that in-between time. And as far as you're concerned, by the time they start time back up or whatever, they're gone. What happens is something can move around so fast in between time and do things, whether abducting people or, it's just endless if you think about it. They could do all sorts of things within the space of a fraction of a microsecond, and then come back in a regular time. They can move things around. They can, sometimes we wonder why all of a sudden things appear. We'll walk up a trail and then come right back immediately, and all of a sudden things have been rearranged. How in the world did that happen so fast? Is it because they're stepping in between time and doing this? Something to think about.
Well, maybe you lost time too. Have you ever been out in the woods where you lost a big hunk of time and you couldn't figure out what happened?
I have it happen when I drive between the mountains in Enumclaw, a 15-mile trip, and I don't remember the trip. Now, that's kind of dangerous, actually. That
could be. As bad as about 2 years ago, I was on the way home and ended up about 20 miles somewhere else. I couldn't even figure out. I had a brain, what they call brain fart. My brain just must have malfunctioned.
Well, it is disturbing. You'll start driving down the road. I've had this happen where I drive down a street and I forget totally where I'm at and where I'm going and everything everything's so dissimilar to what you're expecting. And that's okay if it's only momentary, but if it goes on like a good 15 to 30 to 45 seconds, it's very disturbing at that point. So you're right about that other one. What happens if you lose time? Time doesn't stop. It's just really a matter of your clock stops, and then they do whatever, and then they start your clock back up. And this is what's disturbing a little bit, because you have no control over a situation like that. You can't stop something like that from happening if all of a sudden your consciousness just takes a break and then something else happens before it resumes itself. What do you do?
It's nothing you can do, but sometimes I wonder, these portals, if it's taking you into another dimension.
Oh, well, yes. There's two kinds. There's the ones that allow co-location. You step in one and then you appear somewhere else. So I think that might be used quite a bit. And then you got the portals that actually take you to a different dimension. And I always alluded that the past or time in the past or the future is just different versions of reality, but they're different dimensions. So it's like if you go back in the past, you go through a dimension and you go back in the 50s, you might be able to affect something there, but it's not part of your, it's an alternative reality as far as you're concerned. So you go back and kill your grandfather, for instance, in one of those portals and go back in time, and you come back, well, nothing's changed. It's just that in that particular alternative reality, you really did kill the grandfather, and hence that version of you didn't exist anymore. So, kind of something to think about, isn't it?
It is. I mean, that's the whole thing about, time travel, and, they already proved that we can go forward in time. Right now, the scientists are saying there's no way to go back in time. I don't know. I think going forward in time is one thing, but I think I disagree with what the scientists say. And of course, who am I? Just a talk show host. But I got a funny feeling that time travel is going on, has been going on for many years.
Yeah, I mean, if you take the reports from the 70s, one of our folks up here that lives in Washington as well is a lawyer, Andrew Basiago, or how it's pronounced, who relates his experiences as a boy in the Montauk Project.
Oh, yeah. Isn't he out in Longview or something like that?
Something like that. Yes. I mean, the detail that he furnishes with this, and of course, being a lawyer who's credible. I mean, look at the credibility of someone being a lawyer and wanting to relate all this information. And so it's not exactly going to do your practice good if you're just making this stuff up. So I have to take that very seriously. And of course, he relates another the Pegasus project, where they were able to, and that is a portal. That is actually one where it's an artificial one that takes you places. I mean, he's even recounted events of going to, I believe, the planet Mars, base on Mars. I mean, we have bases of people getting to different locations that way.
It said even our former president was on Mars.
Obama.
Yes.
Yes, I remember that. So all we're doing is just relating that. I mean, that's what I've learned from reading from his website, and I've been wanting to have an opportunity to see him do a presentation in person, but I haven't got a chance to do that yet. But yeah, very interesting stuff. I mean, it's very intriguing.
I got to get him on my show. That's what I was going to do that. And
you should. Yes.
I forgot all about it because, I get so many people wanting to come on the show now. Thank God I have a producer. It'll start here in 2 weeks because I tell you, it's so overwhelming now. Booking people and not forgetting and double booking people at the same time has happened lately. And then you have to call up and explain. It's really, the show has just gotten really, it's growing
well,
so fast.
It can't be a one-man show anymore. And once you go to a certain point, it's you're no longer a one-person thing. You're a corporation at this point. I mean, at least a team of people that can take care of different aspects of the business of running a talk show.
Well, I got the news today from my agent today, called up, and with the dog dying, my brain is not functioning right now, but he said on one of the major internet apps, of the top 100 shows, I hit number 14.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's something to sit back and that's pretty good. That's excellent.
Well, as you know, I'm trying to bring, people like you on, the guests I've had on lately. And the people want these type of guests. That's the problem with a lot of the other talk shows. They're not bringing on what people want to hear. And people want to hear about Bigfoot. They want to hear about, Earth changes, UFOs and abductions. And they want to hear that type of stuff.
Oh yeah, because it's real, and I think it becomes even more imperative when the guest or the people that are actual experiencers of these events, instead of just someone that relates experiences of the people. You hear it from the horse's mouth. It's generally much more effective sometimes.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. Hey, our time is up. I want to thank you for coming on and filling in for James, in which he is really sick right now. And, you know, we instead of doing the wacky news, we got, well, this was news. We talked about, you know, Earth changes. We talked about Bigfoot, portals, and all that stuff. Anyway, like always, Sam, I want to thank you, and I want you to have a great evening, and better yet, have a great weekend. It's